guys, we're gonna paint our sweet little carrot patch cart, and here's my finished one. I'm gonna show you how to paint this and put it together. So we're gonna start off with white. I have the awning and the carrot patch sign. I'm going to grab some white paint. I'm just using one of my round sponges. I have very little paint on there. I'm just gonna go in an up and down motion. I am not even gonna cover this completely because I wanna be extremely cautious of the small little engraving. I like the way it looks when it's finished, having just a touch of paint with the natural wood coming through. So I'm getting a little more paint. I'm dabbing it off so it's not gloppy at all. I'm starting off on the edge here just in case I have some extra. And then I'm working my way down where the engraving is. You could use the side of a foam brush as well. I just happen to have this one laying here and do it that way. I would caution against using a paintbrush or doing paintbrush type strokes because you are going to get paint down in the tiny delicate engraving, and although you might be able to clean it out with a pin, you're not going to get the darkness back that the engraving provided. So I'll get a little bit more in here. I'll bring it up closer to the camera so you can see what I'm talking about as far as my coverage. I don't want it any more covered than this. Okay, you can see that it is not completely covered. I'm gonna sand that a little bit here when it's dry. So that will give me this look. Let me show you. Okay, alrighty. So I did that. I'm gonna take some additional white paint with a baby wipe. If you follow along with me, you know I use baby wipes a lot. Barely any paint on there. I'm going to just faux stain this. It is going down in those little edges or little engraving marks. I'm not worried about that because they are straighter, so they are much easier to clean out than the writing that is on our sign. My baby wipe is pretty wet, so I might need to go over this a second time to get it a little darker. You can see the wood grain through. I might let that dry and come back and put a little more on. You certainly could take one of your sponges, and I always use the side with my finger up and down pushing. You could go ahead and do it this way. I might as well do that while we're demonstrating and get more coverage. Need a little more paint. But it's not gloppy. I don't have tons of paint. Our chalk paint goes a long way, so I don't need it to be very thick. We want it thin. We want it to dry quickly so we can move on to our other steps, okay? If you do have it down in your engraving and you want to get that out of there, you could use a vinyl picker, a safety pin, a T-pin, something that has a tiny sharp point to it. Some people actually take straight pins and put them into a mechanical pencil. You could do that. If you get off track like I just did, paint over it and hit it a second time. This is possible with the awning. You would have a hard time doing it on this piece, and I wanted to maintain that darkness, so I didn't want the paint down in there. So I'm gonna let those two dry. I pre-painted our carrots. I just put some orange on the carrot, some green on the topper. I can come in with a little bit of white. I barely have any. It's pretty dry. I could kind of touch that a little bit just to give it a little contrast. I could mix some white into some green paint and, you know, do some more shading on my greenery. Just play around with them till you get them the way that you like them, okay? Then our carrot cart has several different pieces. We have the background. We have 2 rails that go on here. I did pre-paint these ahead of time. I simply used, again, my baby wipe. You could use a wet paper towel. You can use a foam brush. I like this method. It's quick and easy. I like to see the grain through. So those are already done and dried. I did the same thing with the base. I used the baby wipe method and painted the base in a little darker shade of brown. I'm going to take a little bit of that brown on my baby wipe, and I'm going to just add a little on my rails. Take a clean spot. Just blend it in a little bit. An option, you don't have to do that. Again, I could take some onto the cart part, add a little darker brown, maybe down here on the leg, maybe on the wheel. Okay, you can play around with that. You could also add some white on there if you wish, to just play around with it. You can also sand this. I'm not going to sand the cart part. I'm going to sand the base here. I'm just taking my sandpaper, just going over my base a little bit. Both pieces. Okay. This particular part is super easy to put together. I'm just going to put some drops of glue around here and then center that on to my base. I'm just eyeballing it. You always can measure if you would like. Looks good to me. Remember, be cautious when you're using super glue. You don't want to get it oozed out, so you need to use just little drops. It will dry clear, but it dries shiny, so you will see it if you have excess. Okay, so there's our base and our carrots. I'm going to take our cart and I am going to glue the 2 rails. Again, just a few dots across there. And I'm going to position them right at the bottom. I want to make sure that's straight. Otherwise our sign will look crooked. Oops. I'm just getting it flush with the bottom of my cart. Actually, I might glue my sign on just to make sure that I'm getting everything straight next. So just a few drops on there. I'm going to position that. And I'm putting this one upside down just to help myself here. Get that straight where I want it to be. Hold that down. Then I will go ahead and add this one. I'm just making sure it is flush with my backer board. And I hold, oh, it doesn't want to stay there. Hold that down. Okay. I sometimes take my baby wipe and wipe where you may see if you have any extra paint oozed out there. Okay. I am going to then take my awning and I'm going to zhuzh it up a little bit with some additional green paint. I'm just going to take a clean spot of my baby wipe, dab it in a little bit of green paint, and I am simply just wiping this on there. It's not perfect. It's not, you know, completely touching the lines. It's just giving you the illusion of a secondary color. Now, my white paint is a little wet still, so it's lightening it up more than what was on my sample piece. So you will have more time when you're doing this at home to play around with it, get it exactly the way you want. But I use baby wipes a lot, and this is one way of doing it. It's a nice soft addition of color. And I think I add a little bit more back over here. I'm simply wiping that paint on there, okay? You could do orange if you wanted, since you have orange in your kit for your carrots. I'm gonna go add some glue on here. I'm going to carefully watch my edges so that I'm gluing it on there straight. Hold that down for a sec. Now, my paint's not dry completely, so I just pulled a little off with my finger, but it's okay. All right, I'll just touch that up while I'm holding it. It's very forgiving. Okay, I'm going to glue on my larger carrot first, putting a little glue on only the one side, and attaching it right here. I'm going to take my smaller carrot. I'm going to put glue on basically just the end of it, and I'm going to attach it right on top. Going to take this last carrot. I'm going to put some just on the greenery because that's where it'll be attached. And then I'm also going to put a little bit right here at the bottom edge of the carrot because it's going to go against my rail. So I'm just going to put it right like so and hold it on there. Okay. Then the last step is to put it into its base. And I'm going to put this one right over at the edge. The tire will go down into the other piece. And if you've put additional paint on that is a little thicker, you may need to hammer it from the top just slightly to have it sit down in there. If it is loose at all, you could put a little drop of glue to hold it in place. So there is our sweet little carrot cart. Would look perfect on a buffet for your Easter dinner, in your tablescape, getting ready for the holidays. Thanks so much.